Okay, I got the recording. I'm Kathy Shelton from ODE, World Languages. Know a lot of you. I'm going to do a couple quick introductions and stuff. And I think Ryan, are you still on here? Ryan Wirtz? Do you want to do a quick intro? He was on. There you are. Yeah, do a quick intro, Ryan, of yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Wirtz. I'm the lead consultant for World Languages and Global Education at ODE. Along with Kathy, I'm very happy to have you with us today and to be able to bring you this great series of summer learning. Make the most of it.
Thanks. Nella, you want to do a quick shout out for yourself? Nella is my partner in crime here.
Yes, she's more like the leader, though. Don't take it wrong. She's leading all this. This is great from Kathy. So I'm Nella from OFLA. I am the new chair for professional development, and I welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I know you will not be disappointed. This is a great series.
Good. And next, I want to introduce Terry Wiekert. She has really been with me from the beginning from OFLA, and I just can't give a huge enough shout out to OFLA because they have, if you notice in the count, we are over 100. So we, OFLA, after participating in the last three, where we never hit 100 in the spring, and all of a sudden we kept topping at 100. So OFLA was generous enough last night, and Lucas, I see, just jumped on to do a quick scramble and update. So I cannot give enough thanks, Ryan and me both, to OFLA for collaborating with us. So I want to give Terry a little chance to, do a little shout out for OFLA.
Hey, thanks, Kathy. As the membership chair, I would like to encourage all of you to please join OFLA. We need your support now more than ever. We are very happy to coordinate with ODE. We have put forward that we're trying to do some other professional development to get you ready for the fall, and it all costs money. We are more than just a conference society. We do a lot of things, and we would like you to join us. And I'm going to put in the chat box the link for you to join if you're brand new, or to renew if you're not. And one thing that we did, the board decided that since things have been kind of crazy this spring, that we are extending memberships for everyone until January. And then if you renew now, or if you join now, then your membership will be renewed until January of 2021. Or I'm sorry, 2022. So you get an extra few months. So please join us.
Yeah, like I said, OFLA is really one of the top state organizations in the country. That's why if you go to the conference and you see that Central States comes to Ohio every 3 years, it's because of OFLA and Ohio teachers. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Today's session is about Google Classroom. And we have two teacher presenters who I'm gonna introduce in a second, Maria and Kendra, but they had asked me to do a quick poll beforehand, because now I guess the polls are a thing. Terry, we welcome everyone. Okay, so the first poll question I'm going to put up there, and Terry, did you log in under the OFLA account?
Lucas did.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, Lucas, you're going to have to run the poll then.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so if you go down to polls and hit the first poll question. There you go. Yep. All right, so the first question is, what's your personal proficiency level when you're using Google Classroom? Are you a novice, intermediate, advanced, or Google has a classroom? And Lucas, whenever you want, you can hit share results.
Okay. Okay, we're still getting a couple of results. We'll wait a second. Okay, that seems to be about it. End poll and share results. There you go.
All right, there you go, Maria and Kendra. Take a look at that. So we got mostly intermediates and novice. Good. All right, we're going to do a second one. I think if you go to relaunch polling, Lucas, there's a second question, and you can choose number 2. Yeah, do the drop down arrow, and you should be able to, up at the top, and you should be able to.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Alrighty, there we go.
All right, so did you use Google Classroom this past spring when all the buildings were closed? And you can share whenever you're ready, Lucas.
Okay. Yep, that seems to be about it.
Okay, so about
There
a,
you go.
2/3 to 1/3 majority. Okay, good. All right, so what we're gonna do now is I'm going to let Maria and Kendra go ahead and introduce themselves, share screens. We're gonna put a link to their presentation in the chat box, so you can go ahead and, Nella, if you wanna go ahead and put the link to their presentation in there if you have it, or I can. Go ahead, it's view only. You're welcome to just wait to download it later. We'll post the link, or you're welcome to follow along with them.
Mhm.
Okay, Maria and Kendra, go for it.
All right, hi, I'm Kendra Grabinski, and I'm a Spanish teacher at Findlay High School and World Language Department head.
Hi, I'm Maria Herman. I teach German at Maumee High School. I'm also the department chair there. And if you guys wanted to, since this is shared as view only, you can always file make a copy and take notes right in the speaker notes along with us if you'd like. In the speaker notes, we also have like a quick summary of what we're going to say just to help us out. Disclaimer, I am a bit nervous, so bear with me.
Yeah, so it's nice to see the poll so we can kind of see where everybody's at. If you've never used Google Classroom, this training might be go a little bit quick. But again, you'll have the resources at the end of the training so that you can go back and go through it, bit by bit. All right, so where is Google Classroom? So first of all, what is Google Classroom? It is a learning management system. So there are different learning management LMSs like Canvas, Blackboard, and Google Classroom. So where can you find it? You can always go to classroom.google.com. Or if you're logged into your Google Chrome, you'll see the waffle. We call it the waffle at Findlay. It's the 3x3 grid. And when you click on the grid, then you'll see Classroom as one of the icons. It's part of the Google Suite of Education.
So if you've never created a class in Google Classroom before, it's pretty easy. Once you get into Google Classroom, you just click this plus here at the top of the page, and you're going to click Create Class. Many of us have joined a class for one thing or another if you're not the teacher. You can also join a class that you are a teacher. I can invite you as another teacher, and you can join my class as a teacher. So we'll get into those details in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So creating a class in Google Classroom, once you click that create class, you have some options. The only one that you have to do is name your class. So for me, I named them, Spanish 2 period 1 or whatever. And Maria names her classes by the year or the term, so it's easy to find in the drive and also see which ones are active. And then the next sections you can use for whatever you want. So if you want to use the section for class periods or your subject levels, classroom numbers, if we are in actual classrooms this fall, you can put that there if it's applicable. You can use it for whatever you want.
So when Kendra says I name them by year, like this year my classes were all 1920 German 1, 1920 German 2, whatever it was. So that way I could see that very first. So once you create your class, you can then select a theme for it. And you can see up here on our little screenshot, general, English and history. You don't see foreign language across the top. So I did find a really cool way to create a custom Google Classroom header. You can insert images. So in my German 1 class, when we talk about clothing and we put on the silly clothing, my students took a picture of one of the freshman boys, and they loved seeing him with the fancy feather boa on their own Google Classroom. So this link right here takes you through step by step how to create your own formatted for the right size sort of background here. You can add a Bitmoji, like we're using our Bitmojis here. You can add a flag for the countries, anything that you want to put right up there. I think that's kind of a fun way to personalize your class.
So also you'll have the opportunity to set up your preferences. You'll just click the settings gear at the top right, and you'll see that your class code shows at the top. We're going to talk about inviting students in a few minutes. And then you can decide what is posted to your stream. So you can allow students to post and comment, or turn that off and just let it be so that you can post and comment. And then the next option is if you want the classwork on the stream. The stream can get pretty cluttered, pretty filled up pretty quickly. So choose the whole family this week. What do you think about have the just announcements on the stream, and have classwork go in the classwork section.
Kendra, can you explain what a stream is?
Yeah, the stream is when you're in Google Classroom, it's the first thing you see. So, and it's going to have all the announcements that you have for your class. And Maria, do you want to show? I think
Yeah, let me get a tab open. You can keep talking. I'm going to pause this sharing for a second so I can.
okay. And deleted items, if you want deleted items, I don't know why you would, but maybe you would. And then if you want guardian summaries, and we're going to talk about adding parents and guardians in just a minute as well.
Can you guys all see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, you're good.
So right here, when you click on stream, there can be announcements, or if you use that setting like we showed you, the classwork can also appear in here. And side note, you can play Pictionary online with your students when you're stuck in a virtual learning setting.
Nice. Great. And then also there's a Google Meet link to activate if you would like to. I think it's pretty likely that we're going to use our Google Meet in some way, shape, or form this fall.
All right, and if you'd like to invite parents to the classroom, this can be very, very helpful. So here we were talking about the various components of Google Classroom. You've got a stream, you've got the classwork, and here in purple you see people. Then you also have grades. We're going to give you a breakdown of all of those components of Google Classroom today. But when you want to invite people, you just click the people, and you're going to see the teachers who are here. These are my principals, my coworker, who also teaches German, and this is a former student. If I wanted to invite his parents, I would just click invite guardians. Sometimes your tech team, our tech team is amazing, and so sometimes you can access the email addresses of the parents right here, but sometimes you're going to have to copy and paste it from your gradebook. Like our online gradebook system is PowerSchool, so I can access the teachers or the parents' emails in there and then copy and paste them. If you choose to invite the parents, my son's teacher chose to invite me as the parent when they were doing online learning. He was in 3rd grade last year, and it'll say your name, like Frau Herman invited you as a guardian in Google Classroom. This is what the parents will see. They'll get an email invitation that they then have to accept. If they never accept this, they're not actually in there. So back here, you'll see who has accepted it and who has not. So you can always send another email, hey, I invited you, please go ahead and join the classroom. But it is pretty cool when you join, especially for, like, my kids are younger. He was just in 3rd grade. So it was easy for me to look into my email and see all his weekly assignments and what was still missing and help him kind of stay on track.
Another thing we did at Findlay last year in regards to inviting parents was when we had our open house, we had a couple Chromebooks available that when they were in visiting your classroom, they could sign up for your parent summaries at that point. So that was really helpful.
That's a great idea.
Another preference are if you want grade categories, you can choose to have no overall grade show up in Google Classroom. You can do a total points grade, or you can do weighted by categories. And because Google Classroom this past year did sync with our grading system, which is Progress Book, I did put grades in Google Classroom because they seamlessly shifted over to Progress Book. And so I did have my grades weighted last year, and you just need to have them equal 100%. So I have intercultural, and then I had formative, interpersonal, interpretive, and presentational. And then you can choose to show an overall grade to students. One thing Google Classroom does not do is break it up by grading period. So for example, if you have quarters or trimesters, there's not going to be a break showing the grade for those periods. But my 2 college classes that I teach for each a semester, so that was their grade. They could always see their ongoing grade right in Google Classroom.
Maria,
And although
did you see the question in the chat box?
No, I am only seeing what you guys are seeing.
Someone said, I've never added people to my class. Is the weekly update generated or sent by you, or is it auto sent by Google Classroom?
It's auto sent by Google Classroom.
Good question.
Yes, great question. I was just going to add something. Oh yeah, the good part, even though Google Classroom does not, the Classroom Gradebook does not sync with PowerSchool, you can export a CSV file. If you're kind of tech savvy, you can import the CSV file for that particular assignment into PowerSchool. But since mine didn't seamlessly sync, I didn't want to enter it once and then have to go through all that trouble. So I just would put a score in Gradebook or in Google Classroom where they could see it, and then I had to manually enter it into my Gradebook online. So when you go to invite your students to your class, you can do the same thing under the people tab, like you invite parents, and you just hit a plus. I'm going to go back to that slide for a minute. Right here under people, you can just click this plus, and then you can type the student's email address. Like I said, our tech team has our Google stuff kind of well joined. So I can just start typing a student's name and the email address will populate right in there if I want to invite the students that way. But what we think is a bit easier, if you're in person, you can just write the code on the board, display it on your smart board. You could do it like we're doing right now and say, everybody type this in. So the student would go to Google Classroom and they would go to join class and they would type this code in right there. You can send it out in an email, depending on where we are. So once the students have joined, you'll see them on that People tab. You can also find this information in the general section of the settings. And if you want to, you can just email this code once. Like Power School has a way to copy all the email addresses of the students from one class. And then I could just say, hey, everyone, here's the classroom code, and send one email to all the students with that one code.
Yeah. Great. So when you get to Google Classroom, you'll see these 4 tabs, and we're going to actually take some time, walk you through each of them. Number 1 is the stream, 2 is classwork, 3 people, and then grades. So we'll start with the stream. Communication is key, is whether or not we are in with our students or not, communication is key. So the stream is where you can post announcements from the teacher, or if you set it up where students can post something there, that will show up as well. So you can just type where it says share something with the class and post it. Or you can choose to schedule it later if you wanted to post at a certain time. And if you want to reuse an assignment or an announcement, you can just use the little recycle arrows down there and reuse an announcement from any class. It doesn't have to be the same class.
Maria and Kendra, I want to jump in because there were some general questions about Google before you guys get into that. So let me look at them here really quickly. Okay, so we asked you about the people one. Google Classroom is free, correct?
It is free.
And then is there, what about like, some people are saying that in order to get it, they had to have an account or a G Suite account. Do you know anything about that?
I think you do, your administrators do have to set up your Google Classroom. I don't know that anyone can just create one if your school doesn't offer that. Do you know, Maria?
I'm pretty sure that you can, just because when I've been in and out of my students' classrooms, my classroom will ask me which email address I want to use. And when I log in on my personal email address, I do have an option of creating a class, but I'm not sure like legalese and if you'd want to involve your personal email address with your school stuff, or if you would need to get permission. I would recommend getting permission, but my district is a Gmail district. So although my email address is @mommyk12, it's all run by Google. So we have unlimited storage in the drive, and that's just how everybody does it. So I wish I had a better.
Yeah, anybody can create a classroom because I've created classrooms, but yeah, the thing with the students and everything, yeah, I think is a little bit different. Do kids have to have a Gmail account to use Google Classroom? Or I guess if you're a Google school, kids probably have a Gmail account, right?
That's correct. They log in with their school email addresses. So back on this slide where I invite students and I hit plus over here, their school email address pops up when I start typing their name.
Okay, and then one last question, then I'll let you guys keep going. It was around the grade book. Where was it? Oh, so for the grade book, could you, as you said, it doesn't divide into like semesters or quarters. Is there like, what do you do then? Do you stop the grade book and start a new semester, or how do you work it to keep the grades straight?
Well, because I import my grades to Progress Book does keep the grades per grading unit, grading period.
So as long as she has a date on the assignment, right, Kendra? That's what you mean?
Yep.
Okay, so you'd have to figure out yourself how to store it, like in a spreadsheet or Progress Book or something.
Well, you can always export, and maybe we can show you when we get to the grading section, but
okay.
Always export your grades. And what we found out actually was that just this morning, Maria, was when you export all of the grades. So you could then use that Google Sheets spreadsheet to copy and paste into different sections and do your grades that way too, if you needed to manually do them.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so when you do want to create an announcement in the stream, you're going to click the create button, and then you're going to see which class is it for. So choose which class you want to have. you can choose all students or just one student. And I actually found this very handy. I have a student who was just a sophomore this year, but the prior academic year, she was out for medical reasons for about 6 weeks. And I was able to post just to her videos from the class time, notes of what we did, add the assignments. And it worked really, really well because then the students who were present in class didn't have to worry about seeing all that in their Google Classroom stream. So like I said, I was able to attach worksheets. I was able to add videos of whatever it is that we did in class that day. So not that I enjoyed doing the distance learning, but I had a little bit of an advantage because I had used Google Classroom for such items in the past. Then when you're done filling all this in, down here where you see post, where we have or schedule, you're going to click on this and you can schedule it to come out at a different day or time. And we're going to talk more about that throughout the presentation.
Yeah. So assignments can be seen in the stream like we talked about in slide 6, if you choose to have them show up in the stream. And both assignments and announcements can be posted in multiple classes at the same time. The only thing is you cannot use the schedule feature when assigning to multiple classes. So if you want to schedule it to show up at 8 a.m. on Monday morning, then you can only do one class at a time.
And that did come in handy for me in the distance learning. I was able to post at their scheduled class time. So then on to classwork. All the assignments that you create get posted here. And this is also where your students are going to submit their work. So when you use the stream part, you can make any announcements, you can attach materials, but the students can't turn in assignments here. So here in the classwork section, that's where you're going to want your students to be handing in work. So here's where you create assignments and when where you can schedule them. You can create little topics, but we're going to walk you through that in a second. So the first step is create, and then Kendra.
Yep. So when you click create, you're going to see these options, assignment, and notice the little icons next to each of them. That comes in handy too as you're looking in your stream or in your classwork to see what each item is. But so you can create an assignment, a quiz, a question, material. You can reuse a post just like you can in announcements, and then you can also create a new topic, and we're going to walk you through each one of those.
So first, when you create your assignment, if you're using the grade book, you're going to want to make sure that you choose the correct category and make sure all these things are appropriate over here. So like Kendra said, she uses weighted grades, so she would pick the category, whether it was interpretive, I can't remember all of her categories for grades, but this definitely differs from your topics. So your topics are going to be what kind of help organize the classwork tab in Google Classroom. So you can have the topics. Here's where you can work on your digital notebooks for your students too, because you can have all of your interpretive work under one topic. You can have your interpersonal work under a different topic. You can have your presentational work under a different topic. You can have YouTube videos or Edpuzzle videos be one topic. You can also organize this by date as well. So you can also have your unit themes, like all of your unit 1 work goes in one topic, all of your unit 2 work goes in a different topic.
Yeah. So for me, the past couple of years using Google Classroom when we were in regular school, I created a topic by unit. So you can see La Misma Luna on the left of Google Classroom, you'll see a list of all topics. So you can quickly jump to another topic if you want to. And then the topics show up grouped in those categories, the assignments and materials for those units. So that's one way to categorize your classwork.
And the way that the topics appear over here is the way that the students are going to see them broken down over here. So one thing that you can do too, like let's say she's done with this unit, La Misma Luna, sorry, German teacher here, and maybe she wants to bump up this unit on Cuba. She can click right here and bump that to the top. And then another way that you could do this, this is taken from my son's Google Classroom when he was in 3rd grade this last year. They had this was an announcement. It was kind of an assignment, but it wasn't anything he had to complete. And you can see here where these icons come in handy. This is a material, a material, a material, and this was an assignment. So when he clicked on at-home learning, it took him to this topic. If he clicked on the week of May 18th to 22nd, he could see Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, all the stuff he needed to do for that week. So that's one way that if we're stuck doing distance learning for a long time.
Yeah.
remote learning.
I'm definitely considering that if we are remote or blended for the fall. Also, when you're creating your assignment, you can assign a due date, and that creates an upcoming work list for your students. And it also creates a to-do and review list for yourself.
So,
Also, once a student, when you have a due date, once a student submits their work, to them it becomes view only unless they unsubmit it and want to work on it again.
so if you're kind of Google Doc savvy, what that means is if a student doesn't click turn in before the due date, Google Classroom might tell you that their assignment is late, even though you can probably still see it in Google Classroom. But I really like this to-do list that it creates for the student when you do choose a due date. You don't have to assign a due date, but if you do, it creates this to-do list for the students. And like Kendra said, it also creates a to-do list for you. So the box looks similar on the teacher view as it does on the student view. But when I click view all, it shows me these are the assignments that I have to review. And then I can click on reviewed and see all the ones that I've already graded. So once it says like all of them are graded, then I can click these three dots over here and mark it as reviewed. Now note, if I as the teacher mark that assignment as reviewed and a student hands an assignment late, so after that due date they click turn in, it does not repopulate this to-do list for me. So that's the only drawback, but I do like using this feature of the review and already reviewed.
Yeah, it's really nice. Also, when you assign a due date in Google Classroom, it integrates with Google Calendar. So at the top of your Google Classroom, you'll see the Create tab and the Meet, and then you can see Google Calendar and your Class Drive folder. So if you click on Google Calendar from there, it will take you right to your Google Calendar, or you can go to calendar.google.com or use the waffle and hit calendar. And you can see all of the assignments that I've created are also in my Google Calendar, but they're for the students as well. And so you can see at midnight on May 8th, I had a lot of assignments due for all of my classes, but then you can kind of just hover over one of the assignments and see what that assignment was. And it also gives you a link right to that assignment. Also, one thing we didn't mention about with the due dates, when a student turns, even though it doesn't show up on your review list, when a student turns in something after the due date, I have my notifications set up that it sends me an email so I know to go and look that over.
Yeah, and we'll talk about notifications in a second, because those notifications can be really helpful for you and your students because they come right to your personal device. So if students make sure they get their notifications correctly set up on their phone, then when you make an assignment, they'll get a notification too. But Kendra's going to talk about that soon.
Yep.
So,
and I noticed somebody, Eric commented in the chat here about materials rather than assignments. So we are going to talk about that here in just a second.
So scheduling assignments is a very helpful feature because a lot of districts, when we were doing remote learning, like 100% online, they said, we really want a syllabus for the whole week. And some of my colleagues were just fine with having their students complete everything on Monday. But teaching a foreign language, I really preferred to have my students do 10 minutes of practice every day. So although I still sent that email that said, these are all of your assignments, the assignments came out at different times to encourage those students to spend 10 minutes daily. So instead of just clicking assign, I clicked the arrow and then I got this drop down and then I could schedule it for whatever day and time I want. Then when you click schedule, it kind of goes into the classwork part of the classroom as kind of like a draft assignment. The only drawback is if I want to schedule, like if I have 2 German 2 classes, this never happens to me. I always have different classes, but let's say I had 2 German 1 classes and they had the same assignment, but one was first period and one was second period. I couldn't use those 2 different classes in one classwork post and have them schedule at 2 different times. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so you can attach stuff to your assignment. So this is still in this assignment tab when you're creating an assignment. Click the little add button with the paperclip and you can add something right from your Google Drive. You can insert a link, a file from your computer or a YouTube clip, or you can create and if you click create, you'll have the options for any of the Google items like docs.
A slideshow even. You can create and attach a slideshow here.
Yep. So when you attach something to your assignment, the students can view the file. So if it's a material or if it's a PDF that you don't want them to edit, they can just view it. If you want the students to edit the file, they can do that. I did that often for sign-up sheets. For example, we're going to do a project on Spanish artists, and so they would sign up for which artist they were going to research. And then the bottom one is to make a copy for each student, and this would become the student's own work. And Maria likes to describe it as, it's as if you're going to the copy maker and making a paper copy for each student. So each student will have their work right there in Google Classroom. And when they go to work on that document, it won't edit it for anyone else.
Right. Whereas here in this second one, when you let students edit the file, it's only one file for your class of 20 students.
Yeah.
So everybody's working on the same thing, which is really fun for collaboration. Then when they do click turn in, so back here, everybody has editing privileges. Right here, when you have make a copy for each student, the preferences on the document go to student ownership when you make a copy for each student. When they click turn in, they suddenly only have view only access to their document. So sometimes you might have a student say, I can't edit my document. And you have to tell them to unsubmit their work if they want to make any changes, or you can return the work to the student. So those are under grading, which we'll get to in just a second. Okay, so when you go to post a quiz assignment, when you click create a quiz assignment, it's going to ask you if you want to make a blank quiz right there and then. This uses Google Forms, which is really, really handy because it grades it. I mean, especially if you use multiple choice, it's easy to grade, for Google to grade everything on its own. And then it will give the students a score and it will populate it into Google Classroom. So that's really quick and easy. But if you already have an existing Google Form quiz that you used last year, you can reuse it, or you can add to it from your drive. And this is where Kendra wins all the time with her great importing.
Yes, I love that for quick quizzes. All right, using Google Questions, I use these a lot in my classes. It's kind of like a discussion board. So you can post just a quick yes or no, short answer question, multiple choice, but you can also create a discussion topic. So say, hey, what do you think about XYZ? The student posts their answer and then they can reply to each other just like you would like on a Canvas or Blackboard type discussion board.
It's great for those interpersonal activities.
Yeah.
Hey, Maria, or Kendra, really quickly, do you ever, because there's always the issue, I'm looking at the comment box about some teachers don't realize the kids don't see something. Do you add yourselves as like a student using a personal Gmail so you can get a view of what the kids have? Or, I mean, that you could do that, right?
You could like add your personal email address or something?
Just add yourself as a student using a different email so you could actually get a view of what the kids are seeing, right?
I'm wondering.
I have not done that because the view isn't so drastically different. And this year I got to see all of the student view for my own children through their Google Classrooms from their teacher.
Yeah,
So,
but if a teacher doesn't have that option, maybe.
I mean, it's not a bad idea, but I think it would be notification overload.
It would be, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know. So someone is saying they couldn't see their, the student couldn't see the materials. Is that what?
Yeah, that the materials don't come up in the to-do list, only the assignments do. So
Correct.
the kids are doing
If
assignments.
you
Yeah.
post a material under the stream, that would be a place to put like your syllabus, something that you don't necessarily need a response to. So you have to choose it as an assignment in the classwork part of the classroom so that students can actually do something with that material. Does that make sense?
Yep.
For a material, when you choose create a material, that's really more for like a view only material for students to access. Like for example, in this remote learning, if I'm in my home, I'm not sure if you can see the wall of toys behind me, Barbie houses, but when I'm in my classroom, I have reference tables and I have maybe key prepositions in German and their English translations. I maybe have some question words. So those are things that I might put up and as a material. I might put, here are the question words so that when students get into an activity, they can reference it. So that's more like a reference material than an assignment. Did that help?
Yes, I think. Someone asked, they were talking about how kids are submitting Google Docs through Schoology. Can you please review settings that prohibit kids from copying and sharing Google Docs? So like I share it with 12 of my friends and we all submit the same thing. Is there a way to do that? I'm guessing that's the question.
Schoology, I don't use Schoology, so I'm not sure how that would work as far as Schoology.
Stephen, was that your question? I'm not sure if I phrased it correctly.
Yeah, I see that. Can you please review settings that prohibit kids from copying and sharing Google Docs?
So back here, when you give students a copy of each document, in an ideal world, you've handed out a paper and they're going to work on their own paper, ideally face to face. But when we're in this digital situation, there's not exactly a way for us to prevent them from digitally sharing stuff. However, if you're reading an essay, like I had some German 4s this year, and I was reading that essay and I thought, this sounds really familiar. And all I had to do was copy and paste the 2-3 sentences that I thought I had read before, and I put it into my Google Drive search bar. And it brought up every document that had those 2 or 3 same sentences, and I could see all 4 of the students who were involved in the sharing. I questioned them all, and then, you know, you have to address it in your own way as a teacher. But as far as I know, these kids are going to figure out a way probably to get around that. But I think Kathy's going to talk about that on Thursday, a Google Translator thing, right?
We're going to talk about it. One last question, and then you ladies can keep going. If a student responds to a Google question, can all the students see each other's responses?
No. Wait, in Google question?
Yes, in Google question.
In Google question, they cannot see any responses until they post their own.
But then they can see everybody's response.
They can, yeah.
Is there a way for you to check those ahead of time before they post?
You can delete it once they've put it up. You can delete that post if you think it's not appropriate.
Yeah. One other thing about copying and pasting, plagiarizing, etc. Google Classroom this year, in the middle of the year, added a feature. Let me see if I can see what it's called real quick.
Originality reports.
Originality report. That's what it's called. Thank you, Maria. That's why we work so well together.
Yes, I've worked with Kendra.
You can only use a few of those a year. I don't know what the limit is, but
it might be 5 per class or 2 per class, something like that.
Yeah, it did come in handy, and it will search the web for copied paragraphs and that kind of thing. So maybe Google will open that up so that we can use more than 2 on those, especially if we're remote.
Okay, you've caught up on the questions.
Yeah, I think one of the questions said, could you reuse the material if you archive it? And the answer is yes.
Yes, and we were just about to talk about that now. So here's well put question, whoever that was. Here is the place where you would post material, so you can create a material. Right here, I think of this as, like I said, for vocab lists, classroom rules, a syllabus, things that you don't want your students to edit, but you want them to be able to go back and reference. You can add one material to multiple classes or multiple materials to one post. And you can, like I said, post them to multiple classes either immediately or on a certain schedule.
Yeah. So reusing posts even from archived classrooms. So when you choose that, the arrows in a circle, the recycle kind of arrows, you can reuse a post, and that can be from any of your current classrooms or any archived classrooms. So that comes in handy. And you can
reuse announcements, assignments, anything that you've ever used. So one thing that I think is important to understand when you're using Google Classroom is understanding how Google Classroom integrates with your Google Drive. So once I create a Google Classroom, and you can see I've been doing this for a while, you can't even see all my archived classrooms. This is why I title mine 1920, or next year they'll be titled 2021. So when I archive these classes, I'm going to drag these folders into archived classrooms. So when I go to my Google Drive and I'm looking for that assignment and I'm like, oh my gosh, what post did I put that in? I don't need to be in the Classroom app, I guess you might call it, in order to find that post. I can go to my Drive and search in this Classroom file for like a keyword that I know I put on some assignment somewhere. And I remember I used it in German 4. So let me check all my German 4 classrooms. So you can get to your Google Classroom folder in your Drive by going to the waffle and clicking on your Drive. Or while you're in Google Classroom, you can just go to it right here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. And then number 3 is the people tab. And this shows again your teachers and which guardians have accepted the classroom invitation. And that's where you can continue to add students if you get a new student throughout the year.
It's also really handy. You can email all the students or parents from here too.
Yep.
So if from that view, if you click on a student name, it's really cool. You can see all of their work that they've either turned in or not turned in. So one thing I want to point out in Kendra's class, she had a student who did not turn this in, but she was able to grade it. What does that mean? A kid didn't turn it in? It means that the student did not click the blue button that says turn in and change the Google Doc permissions to view only for the student. So it means that the student could still edit this document, but Kendra could see it in order to grade it. So, and if you're using the gradebook, it's really nice. You can see this student's percentage. At the end of my year, I didn't have this gradebook, but I could look and see, I could look and see which activities were maybe turned in that I had not yet graded because maybe the student handed it in late. So then I was able to go back and cross-reference my gradebook and make sure I had everything graded before I gave those final grades.
Maria, quick question on the Google Drive that you showed 2 things back, or the Classroom Drive.
Mhm.
What does the student see when they click? Like, how do you know what the student see, or what does the student see when they click on Class Drive folder?
I don't know if they have that option. Let me double check. Can I come back to that question towards the end? I will check because I still have access to my students' class, my children's classrooms at their school, so I can see from the student view on theirs what they might see.
Okay,
but I
thanks.
don't know if they see that.
All right, and if you go to that 4th tab, that's the grades tab, and it's nice because you can see everything at a glance. You can quickly enter grades right on that tab. You don't have to go to the assignment, but if you want to go to the specific assignment, just clicking on it will take you there, and it helps you to see kind of overall grades. At the bottom of that screen, you can see the class average, so that will give you some indication as to how your class is doing overall, and then you can quickly see who has assignments missing.
Okay, so setting up notifications, it can get a little bit complicated when you're working with students who have maybe 2 different types of phones, but a lot of students are really tech savvy and they'll help each other. I mean, if you're live and in person. But you can set up different notifications on your phone to say when an assignment posts, I want an email or I want a notification on my phone. And you can set this up for different classes too. I really like it that a student gets a notification when I post an assignment because I can say, hey, did you see that I posted something? And just look at your phone. And Kendra's going to walk you through that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of notifications that you can set up. So you can have your notifications on for all of the classes that you teach. You can have notifications on or off for classes that you are a part of. So maybe there's teacher groups you're a part of. If students put comments, you can get a notification for that. I do get all notifications for late work just so that I know to go back and check that.
Okay, so then one other thing that teachers love to do is grade papers. We all love grading papers. But I do remember when I had actual papers for my students, I felt like I flew through them like this lovely, happy teacher is flying through all the papers. And then when I had to try to grade them on the computer, I was typing and I was doing everything much differently. And so for some of us who still prefer pencil and paper, or maybe we don't type as fast, or maybe your student handed in work that is you don't have the access to that comment section in the document, you can grade like a picture that's uploaded, so a handwritten assignment that a student uploads as a JPEG or PDF to their Google Classroom. When you see it here, you click on that file, and then you're going to see this little tiny pencil, at least on my iPad in Google Classroom. You can do this on a touch screen. I think Martha's here today, and she was messaging me yesterday about her touch screen laptop. When she clicked on the pencil, it made her take a screenshot, but then she could write on the screenshot, and then you upload that new file that's created. So right here, I just circled some things, spelled it correctly, and gave him some written feedback. This is great. And then when I hit save over here, it creates another file for the students. So when they look in their stream, they can read my actual handwriting. And the coolest part is you can do this on a Google Doc as well. It doesn't have to be a JPEG or a PDF that the student has uploaded. If they have their document, I just click that same pencil and I can okay, his answers were correct, but I wanted to show you guys, you can circle the answers and put a score on those.
Yeah, it's really nice. Also, when you click on an assignment, I can click on and see the students that have turned it in, the ones that it's assigned but it hasn't been turned in, and then the ones that are graded. And then when I click on, and also you don't have to wait until an assignment is due to start grading it. And when you click on a student's assignment, so if I click down here on the first box and click the student's name, it will actually take me to that student's assignment. So if you go to the next slide, if you're not using it, you can just click that drop down up there where you can edit the document or provide suggestions. That shows up in green, or you can just read or print the final document. And then you can grade the document. You can put private comments at the bottom right there. So you can say, hey, great job, or don't forget to do XYZ. And those go just to the student, not to the whole class.
Those go in their like classroom stream, not stream, but like in that assignment in Google Classroom.
Hey Maria, we have a couple questions again about the drawing or writing right on it. Two questions. Number one is, when you were, editing with a pencil or on a screen, where did you locate the pencil? And number two, can you do it on non-Apple products?
Is Martha here from yesterday? I think it was Martha I was talking to.
Yeah, Martha, are you on today?
She had a
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
So you have a non-Apple touchscreen laptop, correct?
Yeah, I have in fact Samsung laptop, which is a touchscreen, and I also have a tablet, a Samsung tablet. What I was mentioning yesterday is that I could do that thing of editing a PDF directly from my tablet, and it is an Android tablet, so it works there. What I did have an issue was with my laptop. Even though it's a touchscreen, it doesn't show me. It may be because it's an Android. It does not show me the pencil to edit it. But I can make a screenshot and correct it and then upload it, as you mentioned before. So I'm not sure. I do not work with Apple products, so I'm not sure if it's a thing that has to do with the product, or it's I have not tried it in other.
Yeah, so probably I would say just give it a try and see what happens.
Yeah, when you click this, it takes me to the screenshot of it, and this pencil kind of lets me edit the student's document.
Okay.
So I can highlight. But that is on my iPad. I do have a student who opened, like when we very first left, I still had some worksheets that I didn't have digital and I couldn't scan them at home. So I took a picture on my phone of some of the worksheets that I wanted them to use. And I assigned pictures. So I assigned a JPEG file or a PDF file, and she was able to do the same thing in Classroom. And she used her finger on her phone to like circle correct answers or fill in a crossword puzzle. So I know on the student end, if you have a touch screen, and I don't know that she did have an Apple or if she didn't have an Apple phone.
So when I'm looking at another question in here from iPad Diana. So you do your corrections like this, you save the picture, does it replace the one that's in there now, or does it send it to you?
No, it creates a second file. So the student can always see their original work, and then they can see the one that you made the marks on.
So do they get a notification that you did it, or is that something that they have to go in themselves and check when they're checking their grades?
It's going to depend on how the student has their notifications set up. So I put a grade in, and maybe right here where it says add private comment, when Kendra showed you here, private comment,
okay,
that's going to correspond to here in the student view. So they're going to see, great job, see my comments. Like you can add that kind of stuff, and this will definitely notify them to like bring their attention to go and see their feedback.
Okay.
The comments in the comment box, someone asked when they can see those will show up right away. So maybe I'll say, hey, you forgot to do the last 5. They'll get that comment right away and can go back and complete something.
In these private comments, you mean, right, Kendra?
In the private comments, yeah. On the document comments, they will get those when it's returned.
Yep, and so here's the document comments. Thank you for the segue leading me into this slide, Kendra.
Here's one more question. about quizzes and grade importing from Lindsay. When you have grade importing on, you actually just have to click a button, a little, like, it looks like a slide button, and say grade import now, and then it will import at that point. So it doesn't automatically do it. You have to actually press that grade, but then it will take all of the grades from that Google form.
So, okay, thanks, Kendra. So over here, when you're grading a document like this, if you see this little speech bubble, I call it, with a ribbon, if you click that, you can add comments directly onto the document. But what I learned this year, which I found really, really cool, and I think Michelle's here and she realizes that in German, you have to capitalize all the nouns, which is really cool, but students always forget to do that. But I have to say it over and over when I'm grading essays. So if there's a comment that I use all the time, I can click plus after I've clicked this little speech bubble, and I can add to my comment bank, like, be more careful, or watch your punctuation, whatever you want to say. And then when I'm over here adding a comment, so this little plus, when I'm looking at a document, I can click, highlight the text that I want to make the comment on, click a plus, it brings up the comment box, and then I hit the little number sign, and it's going to bring up all the pre-written comments from my comment bank, so I can add those quickly instead of having to type them out over and over and over. That was a feature I really liked with Google Classroom this year.
Yeah, that was something Maria taught me, so it was fun to work together on this and learn some new things myself. Also, creating and using a rubric. This is a new feature to Google Classroom, and I was really excited when this was added. So with rubrics, you can provide feedback, you can score, you can use them to score, unscore. You can, when you score, they will automatically generate the assignment grade in the assignment section. So when you're creating the assignment in the assignment tab, the bottom option is to create a rubric. And
sorry, right here, create rubric. And then
create,
the next slide, right?
Use a rubric, or you can import from Sheets, which I don't really know how to do that yet, but I did use the reuse tab a lot, and it was very, very helpful.
I have tried to create use them out of a spreadsheet, and it's really hard. You have to have everything set just so. So I liked creating them in Google Classroom too, Kendra.
And then once you have them, then you have them. So it's really nice. I used Apple and Actful and ODE rubrics for grading. And again, once you have them in there, you can import them from another class, import them from another assignment, and it's really helpful. So you're going to add the grading criteria, and then the level title and the points, and then like I said, you can reuse from any class.
But it looks really cool. This is what it looks like for her rubrics.
So this is a presentational writing assignment, and so we were grading for language use, quality of communication, etc. And then once I assigned a point value, or if I can just click one of these boxes, like, oh, you were writing at the intermediate mid-level, I can click that, and it's going to generate 4 out of 5 for that category. And then at the top, it's going to say 4 out of 25. And then as I continue to grade through the rubric, it will just generate the entire grade. The nice thing too is if someone's like, oh, you're right in the middle of intermediate, mid, intermediate, high, I want to give you 4.5, you can actually manually edit that yourself. So it's really great, a great grading tool to use within Google Classroom.
Yep. And so then when you're done teaching, after this year was finally over, we were all like, sigh of relief, it's summer. So let's archive our classrooms. Archiving the classroom, you just click on the, when you have more than one classroom and you're looking at all your classrooms, you'll see these 3 dots, and you just click archive, and it'll tell you, oh, archiving your classroom means students won't have access to see anymore, but you can still see it. And like we said earlier, you can still reuse any posts from that classroom. And what I do definitely prefer to do is after I've archived a classroom, I move the folder in my drive to a folder that says archived classrooms. It just helps keep my Google Drive a little bit cleaner and more organized, so that when I look at it, I don't feel overwhelmed.
Can you unarchive? Somebody asked.
Yes, you can unarchive. Kendra and I did that a lot so that we could take these screenshots.
Exactly. Yeah. So for more information and tips, it's really cool, the timing of this, but our school district assigned us some online professional development. And one of those was Google Classroom Basics. So if you click the link in this presentation, it's going to take you to a YouTube series provided by an NWOET, Northwest Ohio Educational Technology, I think.
I think so. Yep.
And we emailed them and asked for their permission to include that here. In fact, when you go there, if you subscribe to their YouTube channel, there are a lot of resources if you want to just look into some other tech features for yourself. And I see in the comments that there's a lot of people like, oh, this is really great, but I'm going to go through this again slower. Yes, please do. And if you have any questions, I know we had to go through all this information kind of quickly, but my information is there as well as Maria's, and we are happy to answer questions whenever. Just email us.
We had a question sort of way back. Someone said that their kids just turned off notifications because they were getting so many notifications. Is there a way, is that like their right to be able to do that? Or
You mean their students or their children?
no, the students were like, I'm just done getting assignment notifications. I'm just turning it off.
Yeah, it is possible. I think that they can do that and we can't control that.
Yeah, but they theoretically should still be responsible for checking their email. And I know this year our district, whenever we are going online or if we're online at all, is going to require them to be responsible for those things. Whereas last year we weren't prepared for this. You know, we were like, let's just do the best we can. This year we know what to expect now if we are online. And I know my district is going to say you are responsible for checking those notifications. One thing I did want to point out too, Kendra's district put out this NWOET PD, and I think there's a potential to get a certificate. You'd obviously have to check with your own district, but if you do enough hours of it, Kendra, is that right?
Yes,
they're offering.
we are doing that at Findlay City Schools, so I check with your district to see if they would count that for you.
My answer to everything is chocolate.
Right, and there's a great comment. Yeah, the Bitmojis are pretty popular right now. So yeah, you can.
I have to thank Kendra. I learned a lot of that from her.
Yeah, Bitmojis are great. Yes, we'll put the link. Someone just said, can we have the link for the presentation? Yeah, it was all the way back at the beginning of the presentation. Nella, do you have that link handy to throw in there really quickly?
Yes.
And remember to check the speaker notes if you're going back and looking over this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If people want to post questions in the chat box, I'm going to show another slide really quickly because I know people are starting to leave. We're here till 2:15, so we still have time. This is just some previous ones we did in the spring that also might help. We didn't really want to redo these webinars. And I think Maria and Kendra are going to help me in a couple of weeks do a Google Slides thing, if I recall. I'm not sure I ever got a yes from them, so I'm putting you on the spot in front of 115 people. So we're going to try and do some Google Slides things hopefully in about 2 weeks. But in the meantime, we did a couple presentations in the spring. One of them was how to do a digital notebook with Google Slides to sort of like organize everything. And so this slide is part of their presentation. So if you go to their slideshow, but so it was a recording from a teacher, and it wasn't language specific, but it was still just general. So there was a recording. She had a slideshow. I don't know if you know Catlin Tucker, but this woman is amazing. She is a blended learning guru, and we're attending some of her stuff right now at ODE. So I put a how-to for her with digital notebooks, but oh my gosh, just go to her website because she is so amazing with blended learning. So that's one thing if you need digital notebook, help with Google Slides, if you want to go to the next one. We also did a whole series on competency-based learning, which was like using the grid method. So there was an ODE general presentation. There's a link. She had a slideshow. There's actually a free course for how to do the grid method, which I went through, and it was actually pretty quick because you could skip the stuff that you're like, yeah, and just get to the meat of it. So that's actually not bad if you're interested in that. And then for that one, we actually had a follow-up ODE conversation where we made like a practice grid with world languages and stuff like that. So if you're interested as an organizational tool in the grid method, there's some links. Like I said, I'm not going to redo those since we did them so extensively in the spring, but I know not everybody came to everything in the spring. So that was just my little public announcement. We can go back to your Maria and Kendra. Any other questions for the ladies? I'm checking the box. Oh, there's a Google Chrome extension for the Bitmojis. Is that what you did, Kendra? Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah, I can, if I pause my sharing, I can show you because I actually put it on so that I could test it out. I put it on my Chrome. So hang on, I'll start resharing. It looks like this.
Classroom for next year. That's going to be their starting board for like weekly assignments and whatnot. So that's another topic for another day, I guess. But
Oh yeah,
have-
the Bitmoji classroom is.
And here I'm trying to show it. Can you guys see it right now? Not yet. My screen's stuck on not sharing it. Can you guys see my screen?
No, you might have to. Did you stop sharing? You might.
Yeah, I'm trying to click resume share and it's not letting me click it.
Huh.
And I'll stop sharing and then I'll try to reshare.
Yeah, try it that way. While we're doing that,
Here it is.
oh, there you go. Go ahead.
So this little guy right here is the Bitmoji extension. You can just go to Chrome. And it actually, if you go back to our slideshow, wherever we had it, if you go back to there, it has in the link, it has the, let me see if I can get to the right slide. The link that shows you how to set your theme is where I downloaded the Chrome extension. The woman who did that website, right here, this link, it'll show you how to add Bitmoji Chrome extension too.
That's cool. A couple quick questions on there. Can we access the additional resources and get the, yes, those are all in that slideshow that we sent. Someone asked about that. To do tiny URL, you literally just go to tinyurl.com and you put in your link, and then they'll either give you a random link or you can add the ending like I tend to do on ours. I'm trying to check a couple other questions. Oh, somebody said the links aren't working on your slideshow. On the slideshow or on the ODE ones? Was it on the ODE links or on their links within their Google Classroom, whoever, Ann Herman? Was it the ODE links aren't working or the Google Classroom? The presentation on the screen.
So right here, if I click this link, like that worked for me.
You have to, yeah, you'll have to download it.
Yeah, probably. You might have to make a copy.
Yeah, make a copy of it, Ann, and then you should be able to do that.
I haven't tested Kathy's links though from this presentation because I just copied them.
Yeah, check mine. They should, it was
Yeah.
from a PowerPoint, but yeah, these slides are at the end of the same
Today is the second part. Looks like those are working.
Okay. Okay, and Kathy's work. Okay, there we go. Whew. And there's a great, yeah, Catlin Tucker. Thank you for that. Yeah, so if you know you're going to be doing some sort of blended or online or remote or whatever, definitely check out Catlin Tucker because the woman is amazing. Okay.
I'm going to stop share.
Yeah. Any other questions, or are we good? Okay. I think then if we're good, so next week we're going to do one on Wednesday on universal design for learning and differentiation, I believe, and then Thursday is we're gonna try and dig into Google Translate and reimagining assessments. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can't click on the screen that they're showing. You have to actually download the presentation and look at it in your Google Drive to be able to get it to work.
Good clarification.
Cool. Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, thank you. You guys are getting a lot of thank you. Ladies are getting a lot of thank you. So check that out. Everybody have a good July 4th weekend. Be safe.
Thanks for coming.
And hopefully we'll see you next week too.
Gesundheit.
Great job, Maria and Kendra. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm gonna stop recording.